Since parents, you don't want to raise your kids, I'm going to start raising them. Every time we make an arrest, your kid's photo is going to be put out there. And if I could do it, I'm going to perp walk your kid so that everybody can see what your kid's up to. The second point of this is, if I can any way find out that a parent knew what was going on and wasn't doing anything, your ass is getting perp walked with them. This is absolutely ridiculous. Go talk to the families who have lost a loved one in a school shooting. These little knuckleheads think it's funny. Go talk to those parents and see how funny this is. It's not. We're going to come and get you, and we're going to put you out for public embarrassment.
Right, so that is Mike Chitwood, and he is the sheriff of Volusia County, Florida. And his comments there come as the schools in his county have seen a huge number of shooting threats since the beginning of the academic year. And while thankfully most of these threats have turned out to be false, they still required law enforcement to spend time and resources costing valuable taxpayer dollars. So Chitwood, he's decided to take the public shaming route to try and discourage this behavior. And he pretty much immediately followed through with his promise. Just days after that press conference, Chitwood posted a video on numerous social media platforms of officers perp walking an 11-year-old boy who made threats to shoot up his middle school and had written a list of names and targets, with his office also sharing the boy's name and mugshot, as well as a picture of a table full of airsoft rifles, pistols, fake ammunition, knives, swords, and other weapons they recovered that he had been showing off to other students in a video. While the 11-year-old told police that he was only joking about the school shooting, they still charged him with a felony for making a written threat of a mass shooting. And then, just yesterday, Chitwood posted another video as well as later sharing mugshots and names of officers perp walking to 16 and 17-year-old kids who had also joked about shooting up their school on Snapchat. So what we've seen is that both of these videos, though especially the one of the 11-year-old, they have gotten a ton of traction online, gaining national attention. And while Chitwood's name and shame approach here might be unique, he is not the only law enforcement official cracking down on kids who have been driving an uptick in these kinds of threats nationally since the mass shooting in Appalachia High School in Georgia. I mean, just looking at Florida alone, officials in Broward County, where the Parkland shooting took place, they said earlier this month that they have arrested 9 students over violent threats. Meanwhile, earlier this week, the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division announced that it had charged a whopping 21 for making, quote, extremely serious threats targeting schools, with one official saying, school threats are not a joke. Law enforcement takes every threat seriously, and everyone needs to understand that there are serious consequences. And in recent weeks, we've also seen authorities in Northern California, Indiana, Arkansas, and other states each arresting and charging multiple kids. Right? And this commitment to crack down on students who make threats to schools is actually super significant because in the past, law enforcement officials have been limited in their ability to respond to threats of possible violence. And as the New York Times explained in a recent article following the Appalachia shooting, if a crime has not been committed or a subject does not meet the criteria to be sent for an involuntary mental health evaluation, the case is often closed. But adding, the sheer number of shootings in the United States, however, has led to a nationwide push to rethink traditional policing when it comes to threats of mass violence. With that then specifically including increased efforts to identify troubling behavior, monitor it, and intervene before violence can happen. So these increased arrests, they're an important part of that effort to focus on prevention, not only because they actively stop potential violence, but also because they send a message to others that even fake or joke threats will be treated seriously. Though this also, as I will say, it's unclear if it will actually be effective. Or because while it might deter the number of kids making false threats and save law enforcement some money on that front, there's a question of will this actually discourage students who are actually serious about taking violent action? Because while these arrests and these threat assessments, they handle one part of the issue, another root cause, it's guns and the access that high-risk kids have to them. But for now, we'll have to wait and see if, any of these prevention tactics help. And in the meantime, of course, I'd love to know your thoughts on everything, but especially on Chitwood's public embarrassment strategy.